Wow, look at these words. It is beautiful. It's like Narnia here. And check this out. I've got a sleeping baby. Yes, parenting win. So I thought it'd be a good time to kind of catch up. And I wanted to talk about truth and lies today. I watched a talk recently by a CIA agent whose job was to sit down and interview people in criminal cases and to determine if people were lying. So, for example, if there'd been theft or fraud in a company, she'd kind of interview a load of people in the company, and her job was basically to draw out the truth. And she said some really useful things which I think could be applicable to us, and I wanted to kind of turn our attention to it as we're walking with the word. And the first thing she said is don't overread into the non-verbal cues. I think the first thing that we think of when we think of trying to be a human lie detector is to look for signs of nervousness, whether it's twitching, playing with the hair, tapping the feet, fiddling the hands, even a bit of light perspiration. But what she said was really interesting. She said, but surely the situation is unnerving for anyone, whether they're telling the truth or lying, because the person who's telling the truth might be afraid of being falsely accused. So putting too much emphasis on the non-verbal cues can actually be quite a dangerous move. It can mislead us because she said basically anyone who's nervous has reason to be nervous. They're being interviewed in a criminal investigation, and both the truth teller and the liar will be nervous in that situation. So one of the ways to move towards the truth is to think about how you pose the questions. Is to ask the right kinds of questions, which actually we're thinking more about the content of what people are saying, and does it match up? Are the stories coherent? Do they sound made up? Do they sound like the person's kind of trying to create a fiction, or are they speaking in generalities where they say, oh, in general, or most of the time, and those sorts of things. And those are kind of techniques that people will use to be evasive. But what was really interesting, she did actually look at some of these non-verbal cues, and she kind of unpacked them a little bit and said the key thing to look for if you're going to look at the non-verbal cues is if they happen quickly. So within 5 seconds of asking a question, if someone gives certain non-verbal cues which indicate nervousness, that can be a sign that someone's lying. But of course we get these false positives. But one of the strongest verbal cues she shared was aggression. So it could be the transferal of blame. That's a kind of aggressive move. So if someone's being questioned, it could be about a theft in the company. They might just rattle off about how, for example, they're not properly equipped by their management, and the company never keep correct security measures. Immediately the finger's pointing in other directions. They may even turn the blame on you as a questioner and kind of have an aggressive response directly. And there's in fact a situation in the Bible that's just like this. In Mark 14, and we read about Peter. Now Peter had told Jesus that he'll never deny him. Jesus said, I'm going to be betrayed, I'll be handed over, the Son of Man's going to be crucified. And Peter's like, I will stand with you unto death. And Jesus says, will you, Peter? Will you really? And then it happens. Jesus is arrested, and Peter's following to watch. He's protective, he's defensive, but he's also scared, and he's kind of warming himself by the fire, and someone spots him, and they're like, you're one of Jesus' followers, I recognise you, you've been with him. And Peter says no, and he denies it. And then the same thing happens sometimes later. Someone else recognises him, and again Peter denies it. He's scared, he's concerned for his own safety and well-being, understandably, but he's denying Jesus. He's lying, he's not telling the truth. And then it happens a third time, and in Mark 14 it reads like this. It says that Peter denied Jesus, and he started calling down curses on himself. This is shocking when you think about it. Peter was adamantly expressing this denial of Jesus, so much so that he was saying all of these curses. He was swearing over himself, and it was this kind of aggressive response that we can see that indicates this untruth, this lie in Peter's life. And it's really sad when you think about it, the level he's gone to here, where he's calling down curses on himself. You think, whoa, man, he's denying Jesus, he's denying the Son of Man, the Son of God. But we know how the story turns out. Jesus forgives Peter. Jesus is reconciled to Peter. He challenges Peter. He doesn't just ignore it and brush it over. He does challenge him. And there's this beautiful scene of reconciliation and repentance in Peter. And then Peter's transformed and changed through the experience. He becomes an influential church leader, even to the point that he ends up giving his own life for his faith. What a transformation happened in Peter over time as he watched and he learned and he went through this humbling, painful experience of denying Jesus. But you've got this thing of untruth, the way that the response is to kind of is to get aggressive and start mouthing off. And it's worth being aware of that. If we're talking to people and we're trying to discern truth and lies, this is actually a really kind of useful tip that we can look out for. If there's aggression and blame, if it comes quickly, it's one of the stronger indicators that someone may not be telling the truth, and we can see it here in the Bible. And this is what I love about the Bible. The Bible is so full of wisdom and insight, not just for spiritual matters, but for how we have relationships, for everyday matters. It's just full of wisdom. So I'm going to leave it there today. God bless you guys. Thank you for joining me, and I will look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.